everyone, welcome to this week's Karma Cards. So we are ramping up now to a major energy point. Today is October 11th and Mars has now moved into Scorpio. So we've got a change in the way we want to take action. The urges are running deeper now with Mars in Scorpio. Mars used to be the ancient ruler of Scorpio, and so it shared that planet with Aries. So there is a similar energy there between Aries and Scorpio. So it's an intense energy, but Scorpio goes deeper and even to the psychic level. So our deep senses of passion are coming up. The things that really motivate us, our deeper motivations are coming forward to drive our actions now with this shift of Mars into Scorpio. But more importantly, what's coming up this week is on Saturday, October 14th, Skippy had to be here for this. On Saturday, October 14th, we have the solar eclipse and new moon in Libra. Now this is interesting because eclipses are about a change or a shift that's coming. And Skippy is very excited about this. He's literally jumping on me right now. So eclipses are about a shift that needs to be made, and it's connected to the North Node. The North Node's currently in Libra. So this shift is really about, we're at a choice point again, where we either repeat the mistakes, or we repeat the experiences, I should say, of the past, or we learn to move forward. And so the South Node is about letting go. And what we're walking away from or moving away from is a type of dependency. We're actually desiring to move more towards independence. Now, when I look at that, what that feels like, I'm looking at the really big picture. And the really big picture is more to do with like the dark timeline, the controllers, right? The globalist kind of energy agenda, where it was them who created a sense of dependency for us on them. That's what they wanted, because in that sense, then they would be in control. But we are moving into a period where we don't want that anymore. We are awake to it for the most part. We are pretty awake to it, I would say, on a collective level. And people do not want that. We do not want that level of control in our lives. We want to be sovereign, free beings, which is what we truly are. And so the North Node is in Aries, where it's talking about that independence. And the reason I keep going to the big picture is because Pluto has just now gone direct in the sign of Capricorn. So now Pluto energy is moving direct again. And this has to do with revolutionary energy. It has to do with purging things that are disempowering so that it can empower you in the direction you desire to go. And so the largest theme is we don't want to be dependent on others anymore. We really want to focus on our independence and our sovereignty. So what's really interesting with this solar eclipse, new moon in Libra, it's touching on the old, on this, on what was there. And it's kind of like you're getting a choice again. It's like, do you want to go through another period of feeling dependent, or do you want to move forward into your independence, your freedom, and your sovereignty? On the biggest level, on the personal level, there is a sort of clearer look at what harmony is. And harmony, it's interesting because harmony is one of the sort of the lures that the dark group uses. They use this, if we all came together in one homogeneous clump and worked as this one superpower, we'd have harmony. We'd all be working together. But that's not really what harmony is. Harmony is representing that polar opposites actually support each other. So the number 2 represents the energy of harmony, and it also represents polarization, the opposite, right? So without hot, we don't understand cold. You don't make lukewarm. That would be homogenizing, bringing together. You wouldn't understand hot or cold then. So in order to have harmony, you recognize that the polarity actually creates the understanding of the pole you're on. So if you were if you were the energy of heat or hot, you would better understand yourself having your polar opposite of cold there. Then you understand the qualities that you carry, right? Just like male and female. They're polar opposites. And yet, to truly understand one or the other, you need the experience of the polar opposite to truly understand and therefore harmonize within yourself, but then with the other, because then it's like, oh, I see the strength I bring, I see the strength you bring, I see my weakness, I see your weakness, I see how they interwork together, they fit together, right? So we're understanding that harmony is not about homogenizing or canceling out polarization, but rather understanding the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience that polarity brings to us, and having that understanding helps us maintain a balance. Without the understanding of the polarity, then we would seek to neutralize everything, and therefore it would lose its power, it would lose its strength, it would lose its abilities, its healing, its qualities that it brings to this table. And so personally, on this level, as we're going through this eclipse, it is this understanding that I don't need to make everything the same to create harmony, peace, and balance. What I need to do is understand the value. And in order to understand the value, I look at one and then I can understand the other, and vice versa. So now, before I get into the message of the team this week, I want to go over the message of the team last week, because I want to be honest with you, it really stumped me once I delivered it. And I want to share with you how I work, because what I do is I ask my team, what is the message you want me to share this week? And then I share it with you. I rarely, if ever, question why is that the message. So last week when they asked me to talk about information and discernment, I did it. I just sort of shared what I was getting with you right through me. And then as I was editing it, I was like, why was that the message? Like, what's coming or what's happening that was the message? Well, right after that, then we have the conflict with Israel and Palestine. And it really hit me why they got really clear on practicing your discernment and being careful of your information sources, and knowing that there are people who are, again, good people with good intentions, possibly sharing misinformation. And that just kind of blew my mind right open, because right now at this point, there is a lot of information out there and there's still a lot of sifting that needs to be done. I've had people ask me, what am I getting about what's going on? And my response right now is I'm still processing. I'm taking in information and processing it through my own discernment. I'm kind of forming an idea from what I'm getting, but at this point, I'm still running through the information. So I encourage you to do the same. That was the message we were given for this time period. And now I see how apropos it was to have it. So again, as you're receiving information, rather than forming a locked opinion or going with the first opinion that you get, rather see what you can take in and run it through your system. Ask yourself, does this make sense? Are there any holes in the information you're getting? Any things that just aren't quite lining up? Because that's your discernment telling you that there's something to this that's not quite gelling. And I just wanted to share that with you because, again, I didn't ask why that was the message until afterwards, and now I see why. And it's a really important period, and it will only get more and more intense in what's going on. And I don't say that to be, I'm not scared, and I don't want to encourage fear in anyone, but intensity is the name of the game the higher we go up Ascension Mountain. And what it looks like on the outside is not necessarily what's really happening. And so we're still in this very much information spiritual war. And so we've got to look, as we're looking at what's being shown to us, we need to have that. I need to run this through my system and see if it even makes sense to me, because many times what we're getting is skewed. It's skewed information, and we don't know why it's skewed. Is it skewed for a good purpose, for a negative purpose? Is it both? It's usually both, by the way. They're kind of putting in information. So it's so important for us to sit and let it run through our system without getting emotional about it. And that can be really triggering, or really hard rather, when the information looks really scary. But know that if you can detach from emotion, especially fear, then you're going to be able to run it through your discernment much better. Discernment is not emotion based, and it's not purely logic based either. It's more, you're working it through your subconscious, your intuition, your higher self, your conscious mind. All of these are working together, and it's acting like a water filter, if you will, where it's going through the filtering layers so that only the truth is what ends up being extracted. So now I want to share with you this week's message. So this week's message from the team is one about dealing with your fears, such as specifically the fear that keeps you dependent on someone else or something else. The information they're saying is, because of the latest events, it is triggering that feeling of maybe helplessness or a sense of fear and doom in some people. This is the Queen of Pentacles in the reverse position. When she is in this position, she doesn't feel her own strength. She doesn't know her own power, and she doesn't take responsibility for what's happening. She's very dependent on others to take care of her and to make it better. She's willing to give over her power to someone else to do the work of being responsible so that she can have all the benefits, but none of the work or responsibilities related with it. And so the message here is we need to turn that around. And again, they're alluding to the eclipse new moon that's coming up, where there's that choice point. Do I want to continue to depend on someone else to tell me what's best for me? Or am I going to follow my own gut and follow my own North Star and let myself be led by something higher? And what they're saying is, you want to follow what true faith and true trust can give you, because there's a little bit of a trick here. Weirdly, there's a trick. And my team's like, cha-ching, here it is. Okay, so there's a trick right now. And the trick is, one path keeps you trapped in the third dimension, or third density, while the other takes you higher, right? Takes you into the fifth density and beyond. Can you guess which one takes you where? If you guessed that staying in that sense of somebody else fixed this keeps you in third density, then you're right. So our faith and our trust in a bigger plan and our own soul takes us higher and higher. And as you move in higher dimensions, the things that are happening on the third density level, it's like you're seeing it, but it's not in your experience. And that's a really trippy feeling. But there are plenty of people who are having that experience now, where they're seeing it, but it's not in their experience. And so there is sort of a booby trap here set by darker groups, where they want you to take the bait, they want you really scared, and they want to be the one who offers you the solution. And that is, give me all the power and I will make this go away. Here's the problem. It's very Machiavellian, because they created the problem so that they could have this happen, where they create the problem and then they wait for you to panic and then they offer you a solution. And we don't want to go that way. If we do, we're going to their timeline, to that dark timeline where they're kind of trying to keep manifesting that. Most people, even if they're not sure why things are happening, they have a strong sense that there is a divine or a bigger plan, right? This is very resonant in people, even if they don't know why they feel that way. Many people do. And you feel it when it resonates for you. You read it and you're like, oh, that's right. I feel that. Yes. I don't know how this is okay, but I know it's okay. When you're feeling that, you're resonating with the divine plan, the higher truth. And that's taking you up in frequency. And as you go up in frequency, this is where it gets weird. We have a sort of like split, right? Where we're watching another timeline. We're able to see it. We're able to watch what happens, but we're not experiencing it. And it's almost like we're watching a movie. And that's why you hear me talking about it's a movie. You're watching a movie. And part of that is, as you do that, as you stop feeding it with your thoughts and emotions, you stop manifesting it. And when you stop manifesting it, it's not a part of your experience. You can see it like a movie in a movie theater, but you feel separated from it because you're not generating energy toward it. And so the message from the team is to choose the path. What do you want? Do you want to go higher? You want to go lower? If you want to go higher, then what you're doing is you're claiming your own power as you move forward. You're like, I know what's being presented to me, but I also know in my gut that I'm connected to something much bigger and much higher, and it's got me. Like, I know I signed up for this. I can't remember what the deal was, but I know I signed up for it, and I know that this resonating energy in me that's saying the light is winning, the light has won, we are ascending, we're going upwards. That's the truth I feel. And as you take that path, you can see these events, but it's not happening. It's not in your experience. And so they want you to hold that the deeper we go into this, because we're at a critical point now where the deeper we move in, the more we watch the collapse happening around us. And you want to have that sense of kind of a mental, emotional detachment. It doesn't mean you don't witness it. It doesn't mean you're not looking at it or hearing it. It's not affecting you. It's not sucking you into its timeline. You're watching it. You're not in it, if that makes sense, right? So be in the world, but not of it. And with that, let's see how much more information we can get from this week's karma cards. So if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what's the message you have for us this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers. A set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel what's the guidance you need this week. Are you looking for action related guidance, or do you want to see how things resolve over the next week? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for October 11th through October 18th. Now, the flavor of this reading, we have Neptune. Neptune here is about inspiration. It's a very spiritual card. It's the planet of spiritual energy. It's also very hard to interpret sometimes. It's very dreamlike and definitely connected to the subconscious mind. So I feel like Neptune really works through our dreams and our subconscious mind more than our waking mind. Then we got a daily double. We haven't had one of these for a while, and never in the signs, but 2 signs popped out. So we're looking at Cancer and Leo, which is really interesting because these 2 literally live next door to each other on the zodiac wheel. They represent the beginning of the summer season. So it's got that early summer energy in there. And for the 3rd week in a row, the 12th house, the house of undoing and the subconscious mind. And specifically, my team is saying focus on the fact that the subconscious is the form builder. You want to know who's taking you to higher dimensions? The subconscious mind. So what we're giving our subconscious mind, we are creating into reality. This is the literal manifester in our field. It's our subconscious mind. All right, so let's hear this very interesting message this week. If you're choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to inspire others with your leadership and your feelings, seeking oneness with all there is. All right, so Leo, talking about leadership, right? This is talking about the sovereignty that we're inspiring others with. So as we're making this choice between whether I continue to be dependent on an old system that clearly does not serve me or other people, or I choose to blaze the path forward and follow my own North Star and what's best for me so that I can then be there, the best of myself for others. That is what is driving this right now. So it's saying that our choice inspires other people's choices. And if our choice is aligning to ultimate oneness, right? We're being asked by this dark timeline group, the negative group. They have an idea about oneness. See, the really crazy thing is that where we're going and their fake plan look alike because they based it off of where we're going. But theirs has a nefarious undertone. So they are seeking oneness by homogenizing everything for the ability to control it all, to have massive amounts of power and control. But they put it under the guise of oneness, the guise of, I'm unifying the whole world. We're making the whole world one. We're a one world government, right? That's their version of oneness. Whereas true oneness has nothing to do with homogenization. And you know this by looking at nature. Nature has no problem recognizing its oneness. It recognizes the cycle it works within, and it's perfectly in balance when all pieces of the cycle are there. If you remove an element of the cycle collapses. So all beings live in harmony, even though they all serve different functions and need different things. They're working in synchronicity, and they recognize the value of each piece that allows them to flourish. And that's the oneness that they're talking. So that's what we're moving towards, right? This isn't about removing the uniqueness of each attribute. It's rather recognizing yourself in each attribute that you're looking at, whether it's people, whether it's nature, whether it's the universe. It's the ability to recognize yourself within anything that you're looking at and recognize that I'm a part of that and it's a part of me. And by doing that, by being in that sense of leadership and really connecting with the deep spiritual feelings here, that's what Cancer would represent. Not just feelings, but the deep intuitive spiritual, the deep knowing, the instinctual knowing. By connecting with that and connecting with how are we really one? Not a fake, man-made version of oneness, but true oneness. What is that? As we connect with that on our own, we inspire others to seek that path as well, without having to do anything other than just seek it for ourselves. Right? Mental action at this time. Be prepared to sacrifice for the creativeness of and attitudes from the past about philanthropy. This one's interesting because the traditional definition of philanthropy has a lot to do with donating money, right? And one of the ways this dark group has tricked us again and again is to get us to donate to different causes that we believe are helping individuals, which are not. They're just taking that money and laundering it back to themselves. Meanwhile, we think we're actually trying to create change and help, and it's not reaching the people who need it. And so one of the things it's going to come to light, but already I think people are onto, is that all of this money that they keep getting out of us, right? If it's not one way, it's another. They keep just sucking it out of us, and it goes to no one. It helps no one. No one's getting better from it. And I'm not saying all charity, but the big ones, the really well-known ones, the ones that are pushed a lot publicly, those are some of the most suspect out there. So that's one of the things I get, is you really have to, if you want to help other people, you've got to find another way. And one of the deepest ways is actually wanting the well-being of another just as much as you want yours. So we're talking about real philanthropy is looking for the win-win here in any situation. So it shouldn't be that in order for someone to advance forward, somebody else loses. That's the dark system. That's what's collapsing. It should be that we're working not only for our own highest good, but the highest good of those around us. And it's really, coming into contact with the morals and ethics on the highest game board, the spiritual game board, right? So it's about things like only taking what you need and no more. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, but really what we're looking at here is there are other ways to help that are more potent right now than the ways that we're sold, right? If they're selling you, hey, this new disaster happened, donate here, question that and ask, is there another way that I can help? And some of the ways we help are sharing information that needs to be shared, using our energy and our prayers, looking at how, what solutions are available. And this only comes when we're out of a place of fear. We can't find solutions in a place of fear because in that fight or flight state, you don't have access to any type of executive function. And executive function only comes out when you're in that calm, serene, grounded, contemplative state, when you're in that meditative state right there, right? So part of this is getting, again, they keep re-emphasizing, you got to look at giving differently. You got to look at how do I generate the best outcome for people differently. None of the old methods are viable. Everything is more and more energy based. And this actually makes sense when you understand how energy works in these cycles of time. So as we're moving up in energy, we're becoming less and less dense matter and more frequency. So at the densest point in matter, you'd need matter to create change, meaning like if I was more associated with the energy of matter, then I would need matter like physical money to create change. But when you go higher and you become less matter and more frequency, well, then it's frequency that creates more change than matter. I hope that made sense. We got to look at this differently. Your energy is more important at this time than your money. And that money, when you can find an aligned way to give it, that's when it's most beneficial. But if it's not something that you're feeling that, again, that frequency of truth coming through it, if you question where this is going, hold on to that, use your frequency instead to create help and philanthropy. Physical action at this time, yielding is the only way to do what you want to and use your intuition and keep your involvement hidden. So yielding is surrender, and surrender in a lot of cases feels like stopping. So many times when things are happening in the world or happening personally, we want to take action, especially those of you who are just naturally action oriented. You want to take an action. At this point in time, the best action to take is to stop and sit with it. So yield, right? Remember what a yield is. It's not a full stop, right? I'm waiting for the right moment to go. And so yielding right now is more about stepping back from everything that's being presented to you, especially if it's causing you that stress, stepping back and going into that meditation. Again, they want you to know your energy does way more right now than what you could do in the physical world. You might feel very limited right now in the physical world. If you're watching events unfold and you're feeling helpless, that's because you're connecting to this from a physical standpoint. What can I physically do? We might feel limited there, but what they're letting you know is if you go into that meditative space, if you go into the prayerful space or the contemplative space, if you yield and wait for the opportunity, there is so much that you can give right now. There is an abundance of what you can give, and it has more of an impact on what's happening than you might ever understand. And so that's where to go. Don't go into helplessness. Don't go into this place of there's nothing I can do. Absolutely there is. And it's about getting centered in yourself, getting quiet, and making contact with a deeper part of you, and let the energy do the work. Let the good intention, let the prayer, let the mantra, let the affirmation go out and do that work. It's changing the world in a way that I don't even understand it fully. It's shifting so much, and so many people are doing it at this time that it's kind of like My team is talking about the Care Bear stare. Remember that? Where the Care Bears link up and their tummies shoot out that light, and the more of them that come together, the stronger the light gets. That's us. We're the Care Bears. It's time to activate your Care Bear stare right now. So now let's look at outcomes for Neptune in Leo and Cancer in the 12th house of the subconscious mind. Your spiritual outcome at this time is the idealization of self-confidence and intuition to create and protect your faith. So we're at a point right now where we're going to be really feeling that, right? Like maybe the messages are hitting for you about how much more powerful your energy is at this time than what you can do physically. It's time to really put the pedal to the metal when it comes to meditation and prayer, when it comes to sitting with it. It's not about driving action forward. Again, it's about building it up in you, and there's going to be an appropriate time for this to come out. And I think that what they're letting us know is we're kind of like in awe of that. Maybe we're building it up. Maybe it's getting built up in the mind. So there's a little bit of like this disconnect right now. And what I mean by that is like, I think we're all starting to really get it. Some of us have been onto this for a while. Others are really starting to it's starting to click. And as that happens, there is sort of a swelling of that energy. And that's the idealization. It's like, wow, this is what I can do. So there is sort of it feels larger than life right now is what I'm trying to say. And the faith is growing in people. And the more that you do it, the more you're going to see these results come back. Because again, we are becoming more and more energy. We're more and more frequency now, and lesser matter. We still feel like we're here, of course. So everything still feels very physical, but the world changes in how it operates. We're not in a dense place like we used to be. We're moving up now, and the mind, consciousness, and frequency do so much more than they did in the past. Mental outcome at this time, confusion regarding taking a chance on attitudes from the past about hidden tendencies. This is interesting. The hidden tendencies that they're talking about right now are your actual power that's been dormant in you all this time. And I don't mean to say that you haven't used frequency or meditation or anything. It's just you don't know. And again, I don't know. So when I say you, I mean all of us. We don't know just what we're capable of yet. And many of us are trying to make things happen in our own life using this energy. We're like, okay, well, if I'm supposed to be this magnificent manifester, and I'm trying and I'm aligning and I'm doing all this stuff and I'm not seeing big changes in my life yet. It's like, yeah, because the universe is more interested in what I love to call BOGOs, buy one, get one frees, and twofers. BOGOs and twofers, right? So if it serves more than just you, bam, you get lots of energy out of it. Things happen quickly and they shift because that is more in alignment with how the universe is. It's more than just us here. We are all one, but we're having this multifaceted expression, right? And so when more facets are being expressed at once, the energy moves much quicker. So for those of you practicing manifesting and using your frequency to move things in your own life, and you're like, I am trying here, I am earnestly trying to make this move, and I'm not seeing a lot of movement, try directing that energy to something bigger than your own life and watch how fast it moves. So again, this is where they're talking about the confusion, because I think that some of us are looking for the proof in the pudding. It's like, well, if I could see it happen in my own life, then I believe I could do it in a bigger way. And it's kind of like, it's counterintelligent in that if you do it in a bigger way, you'll see that first, and then you'll get it reflected into your own life. So again, it's almost like we've discovered a mechanism inside of us, but we don't have the operating manual. And so we're like, how does this thing work? Like what do I do with it? Like, what do I point it at, right? So it's a bit of that learning curve energy where it's like I kind of instinctually know this does something. This mechanism inside of me. I know it does something, but I don't know the steps, or I don't know how to use it, or I don't know what order things go in. And so I spend more time fumbling around and feeling like I'm failing rather than activating it and using it. And the fumbling around and failing is all part of the process. We actually need to do that. We need to test it out. We need to figure out how it does and doesn't work, so that when we do go to use it, we're much more effective because we've tried it out, right? We've fumbled with it until we're getting it. But the universe really can back you up when you're pointing that manifestation energy outward, when you're pointing it at people. That's why prayers for others are always so effective. They always work. Anytime you're praying for someone outside of you, they're getting a lot of that energy. Now, it's not to say you can't invest energy in yourself. Of course you can. It might be a little slower to go, and you might not quite see it because you're also working through layers of your own, like, who am I? What am I? Like, do I believe in myself? Do I have faith in myself? Do I have my own back? There's layers there. But when you're sending it out to someone, your intention is very direct and pure, and it's connecting to the oneness, right? You're sending energy to more of yourself that appears to be outside of you. And that really lights up the board. Things really move. And so they're letting you know, it's like, you might feel confused about how this works, or why does it work better when I point it outwards? But that's a big part of why. And as you're fumbling with trying to figure out how to use your energy even more effectively, confusion's part of the process. You don't have a manual. None of us have a manual. We've got bits and pieces of understanding, but the best way to do it is simply try to use it. And you can use it right now to send it out to the world in general and create big waves of positive change. Physical outcome at this time. Sacrifice resulting from the impressiveness and the history of large institutions or overwhelming events. Sacrifice in this sense means giving it over to God. And what I'm getting is that these big events that are happening, right, these collective events that we're watching unfold, this is a big part of the experience we're going through right now. Because again, the work actually, the most powerful form of the work you can do here is on the internal level, dealing with you and using that energy to send it out. So there's your work. If you're like, what's my part? It's right here. What they want you to give over to God, to Source, to the infinite creator, is that you've got to solve this somehow. It's up to you. Like the weight and the pressure, the fear that you have, that you might be holding around how we move forward, all of that, whatever the fear is, whether it's the events that are unfolding currently, whether it's other events that are unfolding, give all that over to the higher power, right? Be willing to let that go. Give it up. Let it go. And lean deeper into your faith. These big events are scheduled to unfold, and they're unfolding right now. And like I said, we're in a type of revolutionary energy where the old paradigm is imploding. It's imploding. It's exploding. It's coming apart. And give over to God your fear that this is somehow destructive or negative, or we're going in a really bad direction. There's plenty of people that are hyping that up about how horrible things will be, are, and will be. And that's something you can give over to a higher power and trust that deeper feeling inside of you. And the deeper feeling inside of me says, I know how this looks, but I feel like it's getting better. And the reason that comes up in me a lot is because these dark groups, they have been operating for so long, and for so long they were in the shadows, and now you can see them. It's like spotlights are flashing on them there. The light is shining on them, and you know that if we're at that point where you can see them plain as day, that they are no longer in control. Now, you might not like what you see, and that's fair, but you can see it. And once you can see it, you can make choices about it. And once you're making choices about it, you're using that energy to affect the field. And that's already happening. It's been underway. and they're losing spectacularly. And so no matter how it looks, what I know on a deeper level is the light has won and will continue to win. And so as we move forward into this, it's going to be messy, but it won't be messy forever. And it really has to do more with us than with these events. It feels sometimes like these events are happening to us, but really it's us making that choice. We're at that, again, the choice point to kind of wrap it up from earlier. We're at that choice point where it's continue to believe that you're dependent on this group of people, or recognize your own sovereignty and that the power to change it is within you. It always has been. And now you're going to activate it even more. So with that, I'm sending you so much love. Mwah. You've got this. Use that beautiful energy inside of you and shine it out. Do our Care Bear stare. We're going to shine our light from within by focusing on the energy we want to see, what we wish to experience. We're going to send love. We're going to send healing. We're going to send harmony without homogenizing. We're going to understand polarity and learn to see the value in each side and how having those together truly creates the harmony that we seek. And with that, I'll see you next week. Mwah.